Hello, in this video I'll be talking about one of my hobbies that I've been wanting to share also for quite some time. It is not going to be the main focus of this channel unless something happens that makes it so, but this is something that I definitely want to talk about, at least briefly, in the most general fashion. It's definitely one of the things that have changed the way I look at the world and my life in consequence. It has made me understand a lot of things. And the topic that I want to talk about is astrology, and it's quite difficult and controversial to get there, because when you say the word astrology, just at the mention of the word, half of the people that you talk to about the topic, they raise their eyebrows and like, oh yeah, really? And you forget to take your meds today? And they think you're joking, they think you're high, and they think you're not in touch with reality, which in my case couldn't be farther from the truth, because I'm pretty much like self-depreciating and pretty down to earth, unlike you may think. But I want to talk here about my perception of the subject, how I view it, and why do I think it's important, why do I think it can help, if not everyone, then at least some people, and how it has helped me, how it can help you if you are interested. There are plenty of videos on YouTube explaining some more specific placements. For the time being, I don't really have plans of explaining specific placements, because like I said, I don't want this channel to be an astrology only channel. Maybe in the future, if there's more videos, I will just make a playlist, and the playlist will contain all videos astrology. But I don't want to do only that, purely that. So yeah, this is more like an informative introduction video about what I think of the topic. I consider myself at least moderately well educated on the subject. Yes, there is such a thing as being educated about astrology. In fact, it's pretty necessary if you want to talk about it at all. Due to the fact that I've spent at least around 5 or so more years self-studying the subject. There are plenty of materials available on the internet, books, articles, and I've been reading about the subject a lot, and by now I feel like I've gotten a pretty good grasp of basic things. Of course, there's always more to learn. And in case of astrology, the topics to learn, they're never, and it's the wisdom to gain is infinite. I guess with all the other sciences. So I'll start by telling that I call astrology the science of the fabric of the universe. You know how we have biology, chemistry, geography, and all these sciences explore the world around us on some level. Well, in my opinion, astrology also is one of these kinds of sciences, underrated, as valid as any others, depending on what your life is about and how you live it. But there is a reason that all people in positions of power have had their personal astrologers since the dawn of time. It is, however, one of those things that is not really talked loudly about, because it takes a very specific kind of intuitive sensing to appreciate the value of astrology, and some people they just have a different focus in their lives, and that's completely okay. If you have no interest in that, then it's really fine. What gets me, however, is when people try to downplay it, because it's ignorance, it's lack of knowledge, and it kind of just makes me sad when that happens. However, it's completely fine. Like, it's not obligatory for everyone to be interested in the subject. Like I said, there are different pursuits in this life, and we need physicists and biologists also as much as we need astrologers. So, more about how and why exactly I get interested in the subject more. I stumbled across something on Tumblr, I believe. Even on Tumblr, you have a lot of knowledge. And one blog led to another, and after reading a lot of things and getting more knowledge, and reading some things that were supposed to correspond to me, I have felt a click, and the click means that you have found something that's true, something that's real and present in your life. And first, before we dive into how we do it, we have to distinguish. I personally like to divide the approach to the topic towards three layers of how different people can see astrology in the world. So the first layer is what we would call the layer of the common person. So in this layer, in this group, I would put people who say they don't believe in astrology. Astrology is not religion, it's not something you believe in. I'm not a religious person at all. I don't like religion. And I don't think astrology is something you believe in. I think it's something that describes the world around us as much as anything else. And you believing in it or not does not change its existence. Like if you didn't, it's like, you know, these people who don't believe that the Earth is round. Well, the Earth is still round, no matter if you don't believe it or not. The Earth doesn't care. So you may be interested or not, but the thing is still there. So the first layer is like these people who don't believe it, reject it, and people who associate astrology with these pathetic columns in newspaper when you have these cliches thrown around and these shitty predictions for the week or the month just by your sun sign. And this is like what I would say most people would associate astrology with. However, lately, I think partially because of the rise of the internet, people have started to get more educated on the subject, which makes me happy in a way. Even in some more stupid magazines, you get some basic information that could be that can be more useful. Like, first of all, people start seeing that astrology is more than just the sun sign astrology, and they start getting curious. However, this is what I call the second layer. This is the layer of a person who has crossed the threshold of just thinking that astrology is a lot of bullshit, but they use it in the second layer. They use it in this sort of pop culture way, as in there are some accurate terms that exist, and they throw them around in the inaccurate way. So, for example, I don't know, there are some cliches that get thrown around. Let's say that someone is a Cancer moon like me. So they're like, oh my god, I'm a Cancer moon. Let me go to my bed and cry some more, and just have this second bag of ice cream and the third bag of Doritos. Which, by the way, it's all cliche. I don't even like snacks. I don't snack too much. If anything, I snack on fruit. So not very Cancer moon-like, but the point is there are these cliches that are taken from a specific placement, and they get thrown around, and they appear in these popular magazines like Cosmopolitan or other, like, no particular shade towards these magazines. They just appear everywhere, also on some other websites, and these people, or even when you go on Tumblr, you can just see some blogs, and they're like, yes, sign aesthetics, and there's just something that's thrown around again on a very superficial level. And yeah, it's more like the masses who have seen 5% of the topic and think they have seen God, and basically, yeah. And then there's the third layer, and yeah, I'm risking right now sounding very well, you know, too boastful, but personally, I believe after the education I have received, I place myself on the third layer, and this is the layer where, at least to some extent, the person already knows what they read or talk about. They know what they're doing, and they just basically really know what the subject is about to bigger or less level. Because, like I said, the material for learning, for enriching your wisdom is infinite. So at no point I'm going to stop and say, oh well, now I know everything, I don't have to learn anymore, I have been enlightened and no one can tell me anything. That's not gonna happen, because at any point there are still many things that I'm learning, and there are people out there that of course are much better than me, people who have written books. But I think that I have already achieved a level where I can say that I'm, you know, good enough to say that I have achieved a decent level in this subject. So hopefully anything I will ever make will make people understand that to have any benefit from astrology, you have to go to level 3. You have to discard the more trashy and more pop culture versions of astrology, because they're not really educational. Many of these things, they are written and produced so that they sell themselves. As someone who actually used to work as a freelancer on different websites, I have seen different sections for astrology. I have seen news which are like looking for someone to look a few articles a week, and basically the whole point of it is to get hits, to generate hits. And people who write these articles, they often just know how to write without knowing what they're writing about. And that's as far away from the actual accuracy of astrology as it can get. So once we have established that we have discarded the trashy bits, we can start gathering the facts. So the first fact is that to have any sort of relevance and substance in your astrology learning, you need to know your exact birth time to the minute, and the location, of course, and all the information. Because if you don't have exact information, then you will have a hard time doing this thing well. Personally, I am lucky because my mom was also interested in astrology. So when I was born, she recorded my birth time. She paid really close attention to it. She was very. She actually ordered a chart for me when I was like 3 years old. She went to an actual professional. Back at the time, I think she had to pay for it per year. If only she knew that nowadays you just type things in the browser and you get all kinds of charts that you want, and the machine does them. This is like honestly such an opportunity. The internet has also helped the development of yet another part of our lives. So yes, an accurate birth time, an accurate birthplace, and all these things, they really play into this whole thing. And why? Because this actually is one of the answers to the questions raised by astrology skeptics. Because if you don't have an accurate birth time, you are missing the fact that astrology done well is tailored to this one specific person born in a specific time, in a specific place, in a specific minute, and that's you. If you only, let's say, look at something by your birthday, the day of your birth and the year of your birth, you are looking at things that can be tailored to any other person on the planet. And every day there are thousands of people born on the planet. So the place is going to change things. And also, even in the hospital within the same hour, there's a very limited amount of people born. In fact, even identical twins who are born close to each other, they have some differences in their charts, even if there is a very small difference between them. I'm actually not really good at this level of detail. For this level of detail, you would have to consult someone who's like a professional astrologer. But the point is that these details matter, and this is what makes you a unique individual, because at no other place in time and space was anyone like you born. Even if there are some similarities, a person who is similar to you will be different. There may be someone who takes very similar placements, but they were born, let's say, 100 years ago. This is not the same person. The new unique person that was born is you. And this is what makes astrology so magical, because astrology done well preserves our uniqueness and addresses our specific needs. And that brings me to my next point. I know there's plenty of this stuff out there, but I am not a huge fan of what we would call predictive astrology. I'm not a fan of looking at it as a source to ask yourself what's going to come, because what will come, and you just have to embrace it. It's more of a tool that may help us deal with what's coming. And another problem here is that it's always a bit of a struggle to use astrology to help someone, because the answers that you find from astrology, they are often best found within yourself. With time and practice, and if you know the other person well, actually knowing a person in real life helps, helping them because you know them and you can see how astrology plays out in their lives. So it's like maybe best to help your friends, but actually making a prediction for another person, making a reading for them, this is not an easy thing, because even if you know their placements, when you just try to read their chart, you throw around some cliches, and unless you know at least a minimal amount of information about them, unless you have some personal touch, it can sound kind of cold. Which is usually why any good articles that speak about astrology, they give at least like 4 possible ways that a given placement can manifest. Because again, none of the people are identical. Everyone has different circumstances, different life detail situations, and even siblings brought up in the same home can have the different perception of the same family. So also another thing to remember is that we in our lives are very caught up with small, material, insignificant details. And when people read astrology, if they have a problem with it, they cling to that. For example, they may say, let me give you an example. I'm going to pull another one out of my placement. So let's say you have Saturn in the 4th house, and Saturn is a planet of restriction, and it's placed in the 4th house of family. So someone can try to interpret it this way and say, oh, but that means you should have a small family, but my family is not that small, so this is bullshit. But again, this is not how these things work, because you don't just look at the material aspect of it all. You look more the general vibe the situation gives you, because you may have a bigger family, but you may still feel this feeling of isolation, coldness, and severity that Saturn placed in this house can represent. So sometimes astrology can, in fact, work at face value. Like in my case, it does work because I was raised in a single-parent household. I don't have any siblings. So in my case, Saturn in the 4th house was quite literal because it was just me and my mom. But there are some people who have Saturn in the 4th house, who have siblings, who have parents, and it doesn't work this directly for them. Sometimes it can be quite literal, but sometimes it is not. And you really need to have a good understanding of the situation to be able to fully benefit from the wisdom of your placement. If anyone has any particular questions about the subject, then of course I will try to answer them. But mostly the purpose for me of this video is just to tell people how astrology can become a wonderful adventure of self-discovery, how reading some appropriate articles has helped me face obstacles in my life, how it has helped me blossom to the moment where I am right now and blossom further, hopefully, how it has helped me understand some struggles that I had inside myself and I still do, how it has helped me overcome them. I wouldn't be here on YouTube if it wasn't for astrology that made me understand the legitimate reasons behind the negative feelings I was having towards self-exposure and self-presentation. It helped me understand that this is something I need to go through, and this is something that I need to beat in order to be in a better place in life. And again, if it wasn't for astrology, I wouldn't be able to do that. Astrology is actually very compatible with psychology. In fact, I would have most psychologist offices have some extra astrological consultation, because astrology, just like psychology, traces a lot of our current behaviors to our childhood conditioning and our parents and family environments, which is the way it works usually. Like both, like I said, both psychology and astrology both agree on that, which is why there are certain planets that represent the siblings and the parents, or the energy in your home that can influence you. So I guess I will end this video adding one more piece of personal information, because I have posted already a few videos about my life, and this is a little bit of a reference to my first video that is titled Why I'm Starting a YouTube Channel. And in this video that I said that I'm doing it because regardless of the outcome that this channel might have, or might not, honestly, I may have like only 100 viewers or 5 or none, but it's a way for me to try to deal with my self-consciousness and my feeling of anxiety and inferiority when it comes to self-presentation. And the reason why I even discovered that I had this problem, because honestly, sometimes we have so many problems deep inside ourselves that we're not even aware of, and astrology has made that aware for me. And the reason why it is for me is because I have Chiron, which is a place of biggest human pain. It's a place where we have a hard time healing our own trauma while we manage to heal and help others. And I have it placed in the sign of Leo, which is a sign of self-presentation, ego expression, expressing your love. And it's placed in the 10th house of image and career. And the moment where I first read this, I just knew it was the truth. I knew it was very real. I knew it was something that has been playing an important part in my life ever since I was little, only I was not aware of it. And this is what astrology is to me about. It's about awareness, it's about self-awareness and self-exploration. And thanks to this, I knew that I need to start this channel in order to work through this Chiron conjunct midheaven in Leo. And midheaven in Leo is a person who is supposed to have some amount of self-presentation, of self-exposure in their work as an adult. And I guess this is also me doing that wherever this may lead. In fact, I kind of think that astrology is also still unexplored, and I think that every micro event in this life has a very complicated construction, both on like a biological, physical, chemical, and also astrological level. I think all these things are entwined, and us as humans, we are still not evolved enough to understand everything about that. I think the world is a beautiful puzzle of multi-dimensional complexity, and astrology is just a part of that. Personally, just one of the parts that interest me the most. Not the only one, because I have an interest in psychology as well. But hopefully this video is going to make you look at it in a more favorable way. I may post some videos about specific placement in the future, but I think I'll mostly talk about the placements that I have, using myself an example, because I think that my personal experience may be the best teacher to some people. And also because I don't want to speak too much about placements that I didn't really have much experience with. I don't want to give any false information. So it will either be people with this placement, with a specific placement that I have met a lot in my life, or just my own placements that I have seen. So I hope that you have enjoyed this introduction astrology video. And stay tuned, my channel of course will keep having new videos about both this topic and many other ones.